So, hello everybody, and hello to Peter and Rosemary, is it?
It is,
Yes.
yeah. Hello there.
Yes. Hello, and we've communicated with each other mainly by email. It's the first time we've actually come face to face with each other. I think over the past couple of months, I've posted a few articles about Anthropic and AI, and it's raised quite a bit of interest from authors, and I've been inundated. It must be, if I said 200 emails with people sending me all their works. And I've always expressed, and this is my firm, I started this back in 2000, and I've always been fascinated and loved copyright and creatives. Anyone who can publish a book is quite a feat, and I understand the economics and how it works and the emotion and everything that goes into it. And so seeing what's happening to the world, not so much not hugely negative, but there's significant concerns as to how the AI and the guys who are running it are pretty much taking over what we all believe is our own skill, labor, and effort when we create these works. So I know I'm rambling, but there's more of an introduction as to how I've seen, we're always a couple of years behind the US, so I've seen how the US has developed in terms of litigation, and there isn't really, although a case came out today, which I was just reading, that's where I was a little bit late. It's just been published this morning. An AI company was sued by Getty, which is the big agency, Getty.
Yeah.
And I need to read it yet. It's hundreds of pages, but the bottom line is it didn't go as well as it ought to have been for Getty, and they found in favor of the AI company for a whole number of reasons. But I'll need to understand the implications of that for authors. So there's slightly different issues, of course, but it's still very important. Probably will be the leading case in the UK for the time being. So, as I said, lots of feedback, lots of positives, some really lovely people who are, who are very interested in seeing what we could do. And you're really the first that we've actually come together, and we've decided to let's see if we can really formalize something and let's get this up and running. So that's me, really. Michael Coyle, I'm a solicitor advocate. I've been qualified nearly 30 years, run my own company for 25, about 15 of us here now. Yeah, over to you two. Hello.
Hi.
So author-wise, so how many books have you published?
About 60.
Wow.
So yeah, and I've been doing indie for about 10 years.
Right.
And about 60 books. And I'm a USA Today best-selling author. So I've from a range of success, but
yes,
quite a lot of them have done very well, pretty well.
Yeah. Throughout the world.
Throughout the world, in different markets and different places.
Yes.
And well in America, but obviously I'm British, so
yes,
copyright is here, and I don't have to have the same copyright as America. So it's a kind of so AI has been a big concern of mine for quite a long time, because I've seen it coming, I've seen it happening, and within the industry.
Yes.
And I've been watching what's happening with obviously that big case, and with all my American friends involved in it, and myself involved in it. But obviously it was very frustrating seeing my British author friends and Australian and everyone else who was outside US not included in it, despite the fact that and obviously in that case they pirated the books before, and of course that was the part that they were found guilty of, that they pirated the books, as well as then plagiarizing them, essentially, as AI does, because it takes your books, it steals your hard work. So it was two elements of it in that case. So obviously I'm anti-AI for many reasons, but in my industry it's being the death of a lot of things. But I've been watching it happening in other countries, and I've been seeing what's happening, and then I've been but what happens to the US? So the ones outside the US, why were so many of my books taken? And then I'm not covered. I'm not protected in any way.
And how do we know that your books were pirated and were copied?
Because they were.
That's on the search they gave out from Anthropic, the search, and obviously you searched and obviously recorded them on there. And
it's before a certain date.
Yeah.
So before that certain date, I can't remember how many it was, but it was something like 34. Because
so for the people listening in or watching in, is that there is an ability for you to find out the actual publication, when it's been used and how it's been used.
And I think I hope that I'm saying the right thing, but I think it was in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's online.
Yeah,
If you just search online, like list of ones taken.
So the Atlantic article was in reference to the case with Meta and how Meta had let it slip in a court case that they were aware of their tools being used in order to collect a vast amount of data, which included all these books. The Anthropic one is different, of course, but it's still all connected to the same issues of, your works being collected without your consent, without any payment. And I think that's what the crucial issue is. When people ask, on a very basic level, what is copyright and how is my copyright infringed? Well, it's taking your work without your permission. It's going into a Waterstones and walking out without paying your $4.99. It's simply the same, but on a digital level. So where you have it on a mass scale of these things being trawled around and the anonymity of it, it seems not to be taken so seriously by the authorities or by the legislators, because there isn't any real direct human interaction between the infringement that we claim going on a mass scale and then the resulting loss and damage which is being caused as a result. So it's quite it's a fascinating subject for the likes of me, but at the same time, the only reason that one can think why the AI companies are doing it on this level is to make money. I don't think there's any beneficial reason. They're not looking after you or in your best interest. They are making long-term gains, which at the moment may be very difficult to quantify. But certainly,
because obviously when they're using it to train it, they're using it as a training model, which they're then going to make money from. But it's like if as there are some where they have paid authors for the use of their book, and they have done that with some traditional companies. And it's like, well, if they'd approached me and asked to pay for my book, then that would have been my choice. But this is a case that they haven't done that, and then they're going to go on and make potentially billions from something they trained on my work.
And I think also as well, it's the author will be forgotten about long term. In a generation, this is a generation thing. This is not going to. I mean, obviously, it sticks in your claw because you're the author now. But in 100 years, 150 years, it's the impact that this is going to have on everyone's livelihood and everyone's ability to create. And it's going to push authors, because that's what they're going for. They're going for this AI robotic world where they think, and it will be very successful. I get that. But you're never going to rule out the human interaction and human invention of creating these works. And that's what we've got to maintain and fight for.
Well, the big thing in the author world, because obviously there are people now who write books entirely by AI.
And
there are people who have left prompts in their books, like write this more like, then insert author, like more like one of them was like more like Jay Bree, author. Which is that's the point why they stole our books, so that they could train it, so that then somebody could write their books more in the style of our voice. And our voice is our livelihood. It's what we are. It's our creativity. It's everything. It's our career that we've taken a decade or 2 decades or whatever to create. then they've taken our books without our permission to train whatever, so that someone else can just type in, write a book in the style of.
Yeah.
And that's literally what's being created. And that's what we're fighting for. And that's what everyone who doesn't want it is basically saying, my goodness, this is the impact on our industry.
So moving on to what can we do about it? I followed the Anthropic decision settlement. It was a settlement reached in the courts in the States, and there was a sum of money allocated by way of damages, just like a pot of money that was allocated by way of damages. And depending on the books that you've had copied, where you are, if you've registered them in the States, which is a requirement for legal damages in the States, nowhere else in the world. I think Japan, there's some elements of that perhaps, or maybe I'm getting confused with trademarks. But anyway, in the States, you have to register your copyright to claim damages. So it was interesting to see what happens if we brought a case over here. And I was quite staggered by like I said, the amount of interest I think came from Facebook, from one of the groups that maybe read one of the articles. And so what we tentatively looked into was, for anyone following this, you need to grasp my world. And my world really consists of what we call pre-action, whereby we prepare a letter of claim. In the States, they call it cease and desist. But we'd write a letter of claim and we'll send it to the AI companies, Anthropic, Meta. It'd have to be bespoke, because you couldn't just have one letter that suits all. It'd have to be bespoke, and schedules would have to be attached, identifying who the clients are and their works. And you'd make a series of demands, and you set the law out, and you'd give them 28 days. Now, they would come back and say, well, firstly, will they come back and say anything? If they did come back, they would say, this has got nothing to do with any UK law or UK company. We're based in California, and so therefore you need to file a claim in California or the state in which this company is located. I know Meta has a UK office. I know Anthropic has a UK limited company, and Meta too. And you could get overcome that by seeking permission from the court. So the next step, slightly jumping, depending on what response we get, the response is not going to be, here's $5 billion. It's going to be, we're not interested, go away. At which point then we would then consider putting together, well, I'd hopefully have it in place by then, but for that to take place, we would have counsel's opinion. I've spoken with a couple of counsel who are very keen about taking this on as well. And I'm speaking to one on Thursday who's very keen. And the counsel's opinion is required for insurance purposes, because obviously litigation and the people that we're taking on, it comes at a significant cost. And people won't do this for free. So the insurance will seek insurance to cover the legal costs, A, if we win, and B, if we lose. And they need counsel opinion to cover that. And then once those two are in place, then we will issue a claim. And then at that stage, we can issue a claim. Now, there's a thing called the group litigation order, and it's under the civil procedure rules. You'd have to get permission from the court to do that. And it's fairly complicated, but that's probably stage 3 to do that. We'd need to get counsel's opinion, and we need to get the insurance in place. There's no point doing it without insurance. I won't do it without insurance. I wouldn't expect anyone else to. I'm not a hypocrite, so I wouldn't expect anyone else to do it without insurance. If we can't get insurance, then you know, it's something that's not going to take off, because of the fact that it costs so much money, and there's great rewards. I mean, you know, I'm doing it for publicity, and I'm also doing it because I want to get well paid at the end. Now, in terms of damages, in terms of how it all works, subject to it's almost impossible to give you any indication as to what that would be. In addition to that, to make it even more complicated, the insurance don't do it for nothing either, and so they will have some type of reward from this as well. What we'd like to get to is to get to a stage whereby our arguments are convincing enough for the AI companies to engage with us to offer some form of settlement in order for everyone to get some recognition and some undertakings going forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we would consider it to be successful if we can get to that stage.
Yeah.
And the more we have to contribute to that, the better. In terms of the pre-action fees and costs, I've decided I'm not going to charge anything. If that means that we do everything for nothing up to getting insurance, so be it. And if nothing comes from it, so be it. I'm not going to take a penny from anyone. It's just too complicated. There's, like I say, 15, 16 of us here, and I just cannot be dealing with people sending me a couple of £100 here and there. I know it sounds a lot of money for a lot of people, but that's our hourly rates are £325 an hour.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it. So I'd rather have a team of 3 or 4 devoted to trying to get the pre-action done. If it doesn't work, so be it. We've lost out on a bit of time. We've met some lovely people and we've tried to do the right thing. But at the same time, maybe we can get something in place and get a settlement, great. And if we have to go to court and we've got the backing of insurance, we'll do that. But that is the last resort. Going into the High Court really is. It's an astonishing world. That big boys world is astonishing in terms of how lawyers are paid and how it all works when you get to that level. So that is really the last resort. And a lot of the authors, won't be entitled to a great deal of money because, they haven't had great success. They haven't sold many books. And it'll all be different, it'll all be different levels and it's impossible to give a figure for what damages could be, if at all, because we've also got to win the legal argument, which is another. At the moment, I can't see, and there's always, you put 2 lawyers in a room, you'll have someone saying to someone different, but at the moment, I can't see any defense, and I need to read the decision today, but albeit it is slightly different to the issues that we're facing as authors. But I can't see any defence that they have in accordance with English and Welsh law and the laws of England and Wales. I can't see any defence was applicable. If I was them, I'd push us down the jurisdiction route. But apart from that, I'm struggling for them to come up with if we can justify exactly what's happened to our works based on what you said, Rosemary, in terms of how your work's been copied over the evidence that we have. Then I think if it's 1 book or it's 100 books, the same principle still applies. They've taken it without your permission for nefarious purposes, and therefore there's an infringement and damages should apply. And then you'd all have to work out what those damages would be. And
that they pirated it. They didn't even download it and then do it. The pirated aspect of it.
Yeah. So fun times ahead. But I'd like to continue the dialogue. I'd like to continue the, like I say, it's not going to cost you anything apart from your time in helping me get to the point where we can work to putting together some schedules of, the publications, the author's name, the publications, as much data as we can about the author and the publications, evidence that it's been, from the Atlantic or from the pirate website, from the database, anything we can, and identifying who we're going after. And if we're going to go after Meta in terms of the letter of claim, then let's do it. And there isn't any in intellectual property, in registered rights, patents and trademarks and registered designs. There's legislation if you make unjustified threats against individuals. But here there's no unregistered with copyright. There isn't any threat. So we're not doing anything malicious, we're not doing anything which is untoward. We do everything properly and by the book. And we'll see how we get on. And I'm hoping to get something out. I mean, I've got my letter. I think I've sent it. Did I send you? I think I may have sent you, Peter, a letter of claim. I can't remember how or not. But I've got my draft working, and I'm speaking to counsel on Thursday. If we aim to try and get a working draft finalised, and then of course, this is new territory for me to have potentially hundreds of clients. So I need to understand the structure and the procedure of how we're going to do that from a small perspective. As the snowball grows, it may be other firms get involved, and I may lose control. There may be some big boys come in. I don't know, but I'm not really that interested in that. I'm interested in trying to get some form of resolution and then structure, because if we get some form of structure in the future, because this is going to be political as well, politicians are going to have to do something about the law, even if it's a regulation or a statutory instrument, to try and amend and have an opt-in, opt-out, or something which it's all a bit wet at the moment, and no one's got the balls to turn around and say, hang on, what about the creatives? Okay. And we've seen the sound bites from some really wonderful creative people who have expressed concerns, but we do seem to be lacking in terms of any politicians or political sound bites in terms of how to address it, because it all, the people who are a little bit more suspicious maybe blame, the governments in the states in the moment and how they look upon, freedom of speech and preventing commerce, etc., etc. And if you seem to be threatening the big 7 companies who are controlling AI at the moment, there does seem to be a fear factor amongst the politicians. But it has to be political, I think, more than anything. But at the moment, I think the law's on our side. I don't see there's any defense that they have. They've got a defense of data mining, but I don't think that's applicable without a license. So again, it all comes back to what we first started talking about, the permission aspect to it. I don't think I've spoken so much in a long while.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
But I think overall, if we can work together, and I'm not trying to portray myself as any like a post office chap, but I sort of, when you hear about the post office stories, it's a little bit akin to trying to do something which I think's positive and for the benefit of just ordinary folk, ordinary creative folk. And if we don't, then we're going to lose the plot completely. And if you can help, I think if we can perhaps, I've upset everyone in the office because the email was used, everyone gets it. So I think maybe we'll restrict it to people. The property team are like, why are we getting so many emails? I don't,
I apologize for that. I was kind of like sharing with as many of my author friends as I could.
No, I totally get it. It was my fault. So maybe we can start collecting the data now. Sort of everybody that's come to me, I'm just going to put to one side and not bother now and start. I don't mean that in a rude way, but start from afresh from today and say, if you can spare the time, in terms of, I'm not asking you to be the, I can do the data and collect the data, but I don't know if you want to make use of this recording when I send it to you, and see how people feel. And then we can I think we can get up to 100 people on Zoom, and maybe the next conversation we have, I don't know how feasible that would be. And
it would be amazing if you had like the contact of the people that and then we did a Zoom meeting. Like, if I didn't know you could do that many people, but if you sent a Zoom invite to all people, I think that would be perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Okay, I think that's the next stage then, and I've got a call with counsel on Thursday, and I think we're very close to doing and having an agreement with counsel as well as by taking you on board. But it's like, I'm very wary of taking people's time because it is so time consuming. People are going to make a living, And so I'm thinking maybe this time next week or sometime next week we'll perhaps be able to send out. No, hopefully sometime this week we can send out a more of a global email to everybody with a Zoom link and see if anyone wants to take part. I don't know how managed it will be. There'll be some characters, and I don't know how you manage some of these characters, but hey ho, that's the life we've chosen, so that's what we'll do, and we'll see what we can do. But I think from a legal perspective, letter of claim, counsel's opinion, and sign up as many people as we can. The problem I've got, and this I really stress this, I don't know how we're going to work out the damages and the legal fees and how it all comes out of the pot. That's my problem.
Yeah.
But it's not going to affect anybody for now. But it's something that we do need to address because, in 2 years' time, if there's lots of money there, we need to address how that's going to be split up. And I think that the best way for me to deal with that is to leave that to the insurance company for them to decide.
Yeah.
Because they're so big, they're so powerful, there's not much I can do to negotiate. And so I'm sort of be lumped in with you, so rather than me trying to dictate.
Obviously, it's not up to me. I kind of feel a book is a book and it doesn't matter how much it's sold.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that from the position that I'm probably one of those that has maybe made more than other people.
Yeah.
So it would be beneficial of me to not say what I'm saying, but I do feel that if a book has been taken, it should be per book.
Yeah.
Each book is just a book. And if you've had one book taken, I don't know how much, say you got £500 per book, whatever. I'm just making up a number, or 1,000.
Yeah. Sure.
It's 1,000 per book. You've got 10, you've got 10,000, just random number.
Yeah.
And the fact is, it shouldn't be whether that book sold 1,000 copies or it's sold one copy. The book, the entity was taken. That's my feeling on it. It's how they did it, I'm pretty sure, in America.
Yeah.
But obviously, I know I have no say in it. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I think once you get, and again, it's new territory for me, but once you do get people backing the litigation who are prepared to put their, it's their finance into the pot in the event that they lose, they sort of become the controlling party. But I think it's too early, but that's something we can address on the Zoom. But it's not going to cost anybody, so that no one has to send any money to anybody. Certainly, not to me anyway. So I'm prepared to. So that's a blessing for everyone as well. So that removes any concern. Now it's just going to be cha-ching for us, and we'll just see how we get on. But I think in terms of time scale, I'd like to get a letter of claim out by the end of this month. And I think that's very feasible. And if we can get, 50 people who all in principle sign up, who get me, who don't think there's any type of, there's no it's all recorded anyway. So you get me, get what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to stitch anyone up. It's all, I'm a good person, blah, blah, blah. And if we can get at least 50, that will really rattle. It's like a wee game of poker, This will really rattle them. And if 50 are willing, then it could be 500, it could be 5,000. And, it's just numbers. And managing
first, hasn't there? There's always got to be the first people that take a step.
Yeah. And then in other industries as well start getting involved, and it's, the extent of what these guys are doing. And, my brother's a scientist, and he says some of the things that the AI can do now in terms of what I had to do with my team in asthma 10 years ago, what would take us 6 months, it's doing it in days. It's remarkable. So it can be a wonderful tool. It's going to be a wonderful tool. But I don't think we really appreciate and totally underestimate exactly how it's going to affect ordinary folk, and that's not me being a doom and gloom merchant. I do think it's got some great attributes, but it's going to have it.
I'm exactly the same. I'm not an anti-AI person. I think in the right places, regulated in the right ways, it can be great. I just think that it happens so fast, and in certain industries where it's not regulated in any way, it's both,
and importantly, which we keep forgetting. Sorry, Rosemary, we keep forgetting about is that follow the money. And if we follow the money, there'd sort of be, the argument would be a little bit poor. I know they're investing a lot of money. I get that, you know, ridiculous amount of money, but they're doing it for one reason only, is to make more money at some point, you know, at the expense of everyone else, because there's going to be a relatively small number of people who will be, who will see the benefit of this, in my view, especially from a creative perspective.
Oh, from the creatives, it's
You
been
know?
it's been so sad to see with cover designers, for example, because of course AI now, so many books have AI covers. So seeing how many cover designers have lost their jobs or just gone, let alone other things like editors or whatever, that again, and in such a short time period. So my industry, it's been really sad.
Very much so. And I've got clients who are designers who, you know, would charge £150 for a logo, which would take them a couple of hours, and you know, they'd be used regularly, but they've noticed a huge decline because, well, for obvious reasons. You can do it in 20 seconds, you know. And they've got to adapt as well, and they've got to, you know, go along the flow and use it to their advantage too. But where it's being taken without permission, that's where we need to always remember where we are here. I've created, well, I've not. I'm a budding author. I can't get published, but I have sat down and I've written and I've written and I've written, and I've got these books published, and no one's asked me.
Yeah,
you know, that's really, you know, it's not rocket science, folks. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway. Okay. Well, look. Thank you for the time. It's been it's only been half an hour. It feels like I've got a bit of a cold as well, so I'm a little bit stuttery and full of a cold. But thank you, Peter, for making this happen. For reaching out, and anything you want to say. I've talked so much. Anything you'd like to ask, or that you've had the opportunity? Obviously, you've got my mobile. You can email me anytime. But just now, if there's anything you'd like to ask, or you know,
no, so thank you for your help with
thank you.
Trying to get this emotion.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
So this time next year we'll be billionaires. Well, at least we'll have a go anyway, and we'll have some fun as well along the way, and we'll see what we can do. But thank you so much, and I'll leave you now, and I'll stop recording, and I'll send you as soon as it gets to me, I'll send it immediately as it is. Anything that you don't want in, just ask me, and I'll get Ryan to change it. But as soon as you hear from me with Ryan's, if you say so, then you can do what you want with it, and I'll get Ryan to publish it as well.
No,
okay.
great.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks ever so much.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.